welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. Joining me on the phone on this Friday afternoon is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you today?
Man, I'm great. It's a little cold here in Ohio, but we got a lot of football coming up this weekend, so I'm just excited for it.
Right on. And also joining us today is our good friend, Matt Fox. Matt, how are you today?
Doing good. Enjoying looking out and seeing a lot of white snow out here.
Yeah, and you're here today because you are our resident Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, and they've got a big matchup with the LA Rams coming up. But I did also want to mention your work with a youth baseball group here. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, right now I'm an assistant coach and one of the directors for a team called the Boys of Summer Baseball Program. We're located in Cuyahoga Falls right now. We have teams that range from 11U up to 18U. We have a really good organization as far as moving kids along, getting them to play college baseball. From our 18U program right now, we've got 4 kids that are actually playing and going and playing college baseball. One probably will be a starter at Heidelberg come this next year. So we've got a really good program going right now.
Oh, that's awesome, man, and I'm glad you're doing that. For those, Matt and I did a lot of work together as umpires for youth baseball in the city of Kent. So I'm glad, Matt, that you're still involved in the game.
I love the game, so I'm never going to get away from it.
Well, baseball is not the game we're worried about this weekend. The games we're worried about this weekend are football, and Matt, we wanted you to be on the podcast because you're a Buccaneers fan, and Jimmy has been all over the LA Rams all year, and those two teams are going to play Sunday, and it should be a great game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are home. They are 3-point favorites against the Rams. The over-under is 48.5. So these two teams played earlier in the season in the first matchup. The Rams won. This game was in LA. Matt, start us off with, do you think that first matchup will play into this game? A lot has changed since then.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. A lot has changed. I mean, half of our defensive backfield was out of that game. Mike Edwards and Carlton Dean were both playing hurt. Sean Murphy-Bunting didn't even suit up for that game. And then the one key to that game that a lot of people don't remember, that's the game Gronk got hurt with the cracked ribs. So I think you're going to have a completely different Buccaneers team that steps out on that field.
Yeah, and it won't just be a different Buccaneers team. The LA Rams are quite different than they were in that game. Jimmy, we joked about Deshaun Jackson being on the Rams, and it was in that game that Deshaun Jackson caught a deep touchdown pass. So this was obviously before he got dismissed from the team, and they picked up OBJ, and they've also picked up Von Miller since then. How important do you think those additions will be for this second matchup?
Well, I think they're both really important because I think both of those pieces will play a part in what they're going to do. I agree with Matt fully. The Buccaneers secondary is now healthy, but I still don't think they're healthy enough to just cover all of the Rams' playmakers. I don't think the Rams are going to try to run the ball like they did last week. I think this is going to be the game where Matt Stafford has the opportunity to do something special in the playoffs. I'm going to pick the Rams to win because I still have a significant bet on them to make and win the Super Bowl. I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but this is Matt Stafford's chance. This is a spread the Buccaneers out, find the open guy, and hit him with the football. I believe Matt Stafford can do that on the offensive side of the ball. Odell continues to be really good. His defenses have to give extra looks to Cooper Kupp because he's played so well, and Odell is thriving against number 2 cornerbacks. So I expect Odell to be a piece. And then I think Von Miller on the defensive side of the ball, I think we all know, I mean, the path to success against Tom Brady and making him struggle has never been a mystery. It's just, do you have the pieces to do it? Can you get pressure right up his face and make the pocket collapse? And I think the Rams defense can do that. I also actually really like the under in this game. I don't think it's going to be high scoring, but I do think the Rams are going to sneak out the victory.
So you mentioned protecting Tom Brady is a very important part of this game, and that's pretty obvious. One of the big things, Matt, that Tampa Bay is going to have to overcome is Tristan Wirfs, their tackle, has an ankle injury. He has not practiced this week. His status is still unknown for Sunday. Just how important is Wirfs for their protection of Tom Brady, Matt?
Christian Wirfs is the whole key to this game when Tampa Bay is on offense. If you can't get Tristan Wirfs out there, you're either A, juggling the line to put somebody solid over there, or you're talking about bringing Wells in to play that position. And as you watched the game last week against Philly, Wells got lit up a couple of times.
Yeah, and he's also on the injury report with a quadriceps problem. He's been limited in practice, but he has practiced.
Correct, he has. But they're kind of looking at the possibility of moving the whole line around and bringing Aaron Stinney in and putting Aaron Stinney at guard and moving Ali Marpet out to that tackle position.
Has he played out there before?
Yeah, he has got experience playing tackle. Now, even if they move him out there, you can probably really expect Tampa Bay to start shifting Brate and or O.J. Howard over to that end just to get a couple of chips on Von Miller if he lines up over there. I really expect Tampa to use more of a 2 tight end set and split Gronk out and put the other tight end tight to the line, or having running backs chipping on their way out.
Matt, I think the Rams would love it if your Buccaneers put an offensive lineman I've never heard of on the interior of the offensive line against Aaron Donald.
Yeah, I would completely agree. The Rams would probably jump at the chance, but Aaron Stinney is also a guy that probably could have walked away from Tampa, I think it was 2 years ago, and been starting on a lot of offensive lines for NFL teams. And he decided to come back to Tampa and see limited duty. If you watched any of the Bucs games like I have, they actually use him a lot in heavy packages, putting him on the end of the lines and lining him up at fullback. So he is, I kind of say he's almost like a Vita Vea of the offensive line. He is a good athlete that's 265, 270 pounds.
Yeah. Matt, do you expect Tampa Bay's offense to look like it did last week against Philly? They mixed in some runs, but really what they did was Tom Brady just picked apart that pass coverage. He threw a ton of passes that were shorter, but he kept them moving down the field. Do you think that's how they're going to attack LA, or are they going to have to try and get some big chunk plays?
No, I actually expect them to run just like that, but I do expect it to be a little bit more balanced. Leonard Fournette is supposed to be coming back this week. I know he was limited in practice. Rojo's been limited in practice this week too. So I actually, if those guys don't go, I expect to see kind of like what we did last week with a little bit of Keyshawn Vaughn, a little bit of Gio Bernard. And I actually think the wild card in this game, if he gets in, is going to be Le'Veon Bell catching the ball out of the backfield.
Oh, that's interesting. Bernard did a great job catching the ball out of the backfield for them, and that's one of his specialties. He looked really good. Vaughn did too. Jimmy, on defense, we talked about it many times this year. It seems like once a game, the Rams run some form of pressure where they bring Von Miller behind Aaron Donald. That's something that they're going to run this weekend. What other wrinkles do you think we'll see from that Rams defense to try to get pressure on Brady?
I think as much as the pressure, the biggest thing the Rams defense is the biggest thing they'll be looking to do is to see what exactly they do with Jalen Ramsey. They've done so much this year of instead of having him shadow the other team's best wide receiver, they've done a lot of putting him in the slot and kind of letting him freelance and just read the quarterback's eyes and make plays where it's there. They might not be able to do that this week. You may have to lock him down with Mike Evans, which that would open up some free passing lanes in the middle of the field for Tom Brady if he can get rid of the ball against that pass rush that was just absolutely eating last week. I just can't wait for this game. I think it's going to be a fabulous game. Matt Stafford may end up just being another notch in Brady's belt, but I really think this is the time. It's going to be super cool Matt Stafford to be the guy to take down Tom Brady, guys.
Well, let's switch to that side of the ball then. Jimmy, you think they're going to eschew the run? Tampa Bay's a really good run defense, and they pretty much shut Philly down. Philly tried that last week and went nowhere with it. So you really think they're going to look to just pass the ball constantly, spread the ball around, get the running backs involved in the short passing game as a pseudo running game?
Yeah, I think early on, I think they're going to expect a lot of pressure from Tampa because that's also how you bother Matt Stafford is you have to blitz him and get home. But if you blitz him and you don't get there, he's really, really good I think you'll see a lot of naked boots. I think you'll see a lot of fake stretch zone runs where they throw it back to the other side to maybe Higbee or maybe Odell waiting in the slot. I think offensively they're just going to try to use all of their weapons. They've got like 7 guys that can really catch the football and make things happen. And I just don't know if Tampa can cover that long all day. But their line's a little beat up too on the Rams side, so they're a little suspect as well. This is just going to be just which defensive line dominates this game. It's going to determine who wins. But I also think a little bit more so than last week, I think Cooper Kupp is going to get absolutely peppered with footballs in this game.
And Matt, you made the point earlier. Tampa Bay's been really beat up all year, especially in the secondary, but they're getting a lot of those guys back. How, compared to their Super Bowl run last year, are they mostly back to healthy?
I would say they're 90% back to healthy. You still got Sean Murphy-Bunting is nursing a hamstring injury.
Yeah, he did practice today.
Yeah,
he practiced yesterday.
Yeah, he was actually on the field again today. They announced that he was on the field today down at practice. Bunting, to be honest with you, I think you're going to see a lot of Bunting and Jamal Dean are just going to stay to their sides. You're going to see a lot of Mike Edwards down in the box. I expect them to really play one high safety, and then you're going to see over-under coverage on Cooper Kupp, and they're going to make them beat them with the dink and dunks. Jamal Dean gets locked on with OBJ. I mean, I have ultimate confidence in that. Jamal Dean's one of the fastest guys in the NFL. So staying step for step for him is not going to be the problem. I mean, if you look back when the Rams won the last game, they had 2 plays over 50 yards. One went for a touchdown. The other one, I think, was stopped short.
Yeah.
But I think now you have a completely different receiver, because you had Deshaun Jackson caught that bomb the last time. I don't think OBJ is as fast as Deshaun Jackson, nor do I think he's the route runner that he is when it comes to that. He's more of that slot receiver that can go down and get the ball and turn it into big plays. And to be honest with you, if they're playing a one high safety, you're really going to have to chuck it over to get past Winfield or Edwards to get it over and down.
Oh, that's fine. Van Jefferson will be down there to catch it, bud.
Well, Jimmy,
I'll be curious to see where they line him up. I expect OBJ to line up more in the slot and to keep Jefferson on the outside.
Yeah, Matt, I think that's absolutely great diagnosis, because, we all heard Troy Aikman starting to stroke out last week because the Eagles refused to throw the ball outside the numbers. And Matt Stafford will throw the ball outside the numbers whether the guy's open or not. So I agree with you. I think that's probably exactly what the Rams starting package will look like. Probably Higbee split out in one slot and OBJ in the other one, with Van and Cooper Kupp out wide.
Jimmy, you have already said you're going to take the Rams in this game. You're laying the 3. Matt, who you got in this one?
To be honest with you, I'm staying with my team. I'm going to take Tampa, giving up the 3, and I'm actually going to go against Jimmy. I think this is going to be more of a high-scoring game. I would actually take the over on this game.
Nice.
I really think this is going to end up turning into what the NFL wants, and that's a shootout between a high prolific offense, and then let's see what the Golden Boy can do. If Brady can match it. There was one thing that you did say, Jimmy. I don't think Jalen Ramsey is going to travel. I think you're right. He's going to lock up in the slot on Gronk and then Freelance. If they do that, I think the Rams are in a lot of trouble, because you put Cyril Grayson outside, Scotty Miller outside, and then you're going to lock Mike Evans out there. You've got speed and you've got Evans that can possess the ball. I look for a shootout in this game.
I actually like the over in this game too, and I think the game may start out a little slow, which generally happens in high-scoring games. The offenses tend to maybe be a little more conservative, although with both of these coaches, I don't know how much that'll happen. I do think I think both teams are going to get close to 30. I like Tampa Bay in this game. I'm going to pick Tampa Bay, and this is purely a Brady versus Stafford pick. We've seen Brady do it over and over again, and Stafford looked really good last week, but he only had to throw it 17 times. I just don't trust him to throw the ball 35, 40 times and not throw one or two bad picks. That's really where I'm coming from on this. I think the Rams, the rest of their roster is better. I think they're a better team than Tampa, but it just comes down to that quarterback position for me.
Yeah, and I think it may also come down to, while it's going to be a limited supply, I think on both sides, it may come down to whether or not Fournette or Akers are able to just break a couple big runs. Like when you have a 2nd and 5 and they try a vanilla run play and actually get a first down. I think plays like that are going to come in big here. And I also think both coaches will do it. I believe Sean McVay you'll see some more, Odell pass plays. There'll definitely be some trickeration in this game as well.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's just going to be a lot of fun. Both games on Sunday are really good. And let's move to that second game now. Kansas City is home. They are hosting the Buffalo Bills. Only 1.5-point favorites in this game for the Chiefs. The spread is 54.5. The first matchup this season, Buffalo came away with a really big win. They won 38-20. That was when Kansas City was really struggling with turning the ball over. Buffalo was really up for that matchup. In terms of injuries, not a lot to talk about with the injury report. The Chiefs should get Clyde Edwards-Helaire back. He's been a full participant in practice this week, so I would expect him to be back. Tyreek Hill is also on the injury report with a heel, but he's been a full practice, so I would expect him to be fully ready to play. Jimmy, what are you looking for in this game? Everybody's looking for just a big heavyweight fight, and this is sort of the de facto AFC Championship game to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, we were so close up. We predicted this is the AFC Championship game, and we were just a round off,
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking KC at -1.5. Offensively, schematically for the Chiefs, I kind of hope Edwards-Helaire is not okay because Jerick McKinnon played great for them last week, did everything he needed to do. Patrick Mahomes really looked like he got his swagger back last week, running away from TJ Watt. The offense looked really good. Once they got going, they did everything they wanted to. I will say, though, I don't think they're going to be able to start slow, and Mahomes needs to make sure his eyes are where he throws every pass. Like, he can't get fancy or cute in this one. He needs to take this one a little more serious. And I think defensively, I think the Chiefs will be able to frustrate Josh Allen enough to get him out of his comfort zone, to get him in that spot where he's like, should I run it? Should I throw it? And sometimes when you can get him in those spots, he makes mistakes. He's still a little fumble prone. So I'm taking the Chiefs here. That's who we had to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think anything's changed. I still think they're the best team in the AFC. I still think Andy Reid is the best coach in the AFC, minus the brain fart at the end of the Bengals game. But other than that, Andy Reid has been really good this year. I think it continues in this game. This game I'm more excited for than the Rams game because this is a chance for Josh Allen to probably play himself as the best young quarterback in the NFL if you can beat Patrick Mahomes in this spot. I don't think he can, though. I still just like Kelsey and Cheetah more than what the Bills have on the other side.
What will you be looking at in this game, Matt? What fascinates you with this matchup?
Yeah, I think you guys are right. I think this is the AFC Championship game. And to me right now, this is I'm looking for a lot of Josh Allen in this game. I think Kansas City, if you know what Kansas City is going to do, they're going to run the ball a little bit. There's going to be a lot of play action with Mahomes throwing the ball, getting on the edge, trying to get away from that defense. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Buffalo's front four do. I think that's the key to this game for Buffalo to win. They need their pressure from their front four. They need to stop that run. And then the other matchup that I'm really, really looking forward to is what does Kansas City do with Josh Allen as far as his designed runs? We know that they're going to go out there and they're going to do it. That's where Kansas City got in trouble when they played Buffalo early in the year. Those stretch plays with the guard pulling in front of him, Dawson Knox kicking out the defensive end or linebacker jumping down, and Allen taking it right up the seam. So how does Kansas City come back and fight that? Do they bring Tyrann Mathieu down into the box to prevent that? I think that they do. Allen is smart enough. He's going to check out of those, and I am looking for Buffalo to win this game.
I'm actually going to take Buffalo in this game too. I think Allen as a runner has really opened things up for their passing game. And while Allen has not really done a good job of being consistent as a passer, Jimmy, I know you saw that graphic that Nick Wright had where it showed the roller coaster ride of Josh Allen. I don't think he's going to be as good as he was last week, but I think if he's 80 to 90% as good as he was last week, and you add in another, maybe another half dozen runs so that he runs 12 times for maybe like 80, 90 yards instead of 6 times for 60 yards, I think that'll open things up for the passing game. You mentioned it with the slow start. Like Patrick Mahomes he seems to go through these runs where he's really good like we saw in the second and third quarters, but that first quarter, man, if they start slow against this Buffalo team, I think they'll get behind more than they can come back.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And I will say, much like the Buccaneers, this Chiefs defense is pretty much a completely different defense up front than when they played the Bills the first time. So they've upgraded in some spots as well. I think, what do the Bills do with Micah Hyde? It's going to be such a matchup. But I think one thing where Patrick Mahomes, I don't believe in this game, he is going to take the dink and dunk, in my opinion. In this playoff game, I think he's going to understand the weight of this game and what it means for the organization, for himself. And I think he is going to throw bombs all over the football field, whether it's open or not. And I think he has the playmakers to make it happen. I don't know if the Bills are the same way. Josh Allen has had 3 or 4 really good games in a row. But unfortunately for Josh Allen, that usually means there's a bad game around the corner. And unfortunately for the Bills Mafia and all their flaming tables, I think it's about to pop up this weekend, and their season will be done again.
All right, let's move on to the Saturday matchups. The first one we'll look at is the Green Bay Packers are home. They are taking on the very trendy San Francisco 49ers. The Packers are 6-point favorites in this. The spread is 47. It is going to be brutally cold in this game. The first matchup was won 38-28 by Green Bay. This game was in San Francisco. Deebo Samuel didn't really play in that game, so San Francisco's offense was a little more limited than it is now. Matt, Jimmy G has never played a game in sub-40-degree weather. We're all Northerners. How much do you think that'll affect his play having to go to Green Bay in the middle of January?
Nothing at all. Let's not forget where Jimmy G came from. Jimmy G came from New England.
Yeah, but it's a lot different when you're sitting on the sidelines holding a clipboard and you have a headset on than when you're actually on the field playing.
Yeah, but it's a lot different when you're still practicing in it. I honestly think this game isn't even going to come down to Jimmy G making plays.
Okay.
This game's going to come down to what does Deebo Samuel and George Kittle do? Because right now that's where this team is running through. Jimmy G is making the quick throws and hitting his targets where he's supposed to. Let's look at and call it honestly. Jimmy G is a West Coast quarterback. He always has been. So what is the West Coast offense? It's the dink and dunks and letting the receivers turn those into big plays. All he's got to do is hit the window, and he expects his wide receivers to be there and Kittle to be there and then go. I think they really have to run the ball. There's no way that they can beat Green Bay unless they can run the ball. And that's Elijah Mitchell. It's going to be Deebo Samuel. And I honestly am expecting a little bit more out of Juszczyk this game. They've really underutilized him the last couple of games. I really think you're going to start seeing a couple of handoffs to him and letting him just be a bull up the middle.
So Jimmy, this is really a huge game for Aaron Rodgers after all the offseason drama. Do you think he comes in here just rearing to go and they come right out the gates firing?
Yes. I kind of agree with everything you just said, Matt, and I don't think any of it matters. I don't think San Francisco, I don't think down the field, I don't think San Francisco can cover Devontae Adams as well as Green Bay's other wide receivers. Aaron Rodgers is going to love beating the San Francisco 49ers in a playoff game. I think the mystique at Lambeau is finally back. I think they finally have a defense that's good enough to hold the other offense in a playoff game. This won't be like where Rodgers scores 45 and still loses. I think Aaron Rodgers is on an FU tour this year, and it's going to continue with a win in this game. I think they've been the best team in the NFL most of the year, and I don't think that changes this week. Jimmy G is going to make a mistake into one of those small, short windows. He's going to throw it to a guy dressed in green, and Aaron Rodgers is going to capitalize on that, and I think that's where the game will flip.
Yeah, I'm going to take Green Bay here too, even though Nick Bosa was a full participant in practice yesterday after his concussion. Jordan Willis, the other defensive lineman that is a big part of their defense, he was limited in practice, so we'll see how well they can come back. On the Green Bay side of the ball, Valdez Scantling is doubtful. He has not practiced. He did not practice yesterday or the day before. And there are David Bakhtiari, the offensive tackle for Green Bay, is questionable. He did not practice yesterday, so that could pose some problems blocking that very formidable San Francisco front. But I agree with Jimmy. I think Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams will end up being too much. And the really good backfield that Green Bay has, I think, will do a lot in terms of slowing down that pass rush. Not just chipping, but the screen game and short passes into the flats. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones are just really good at turning those small plays into big plays once in a while. Who are you going to take in this game, Matt?
Well, I'm going to throw real quick 2 names out there. Green Bay today activated Randall Cobb off the IR.
Yeah, that's a nice little security blanket.
Yeah, look for Randall Cobb to have a big game as well. At first, I was really thinking of Allen Lazard. No, I think it's going to be Randall Cobb is going to be having a big game. You know, Favre brought him back. That was one of the things with him coming back to Green Bay is they wanted Randall Cobb. So I think he's going to have a big game. And on San Francisco side of the ball, I also look to see does Trent Williams play. He did sit out last week against Dallas. Does he get back into the lineup this week? I'm taking Green Bay. I think the game's going to be closer than the 6. I think Green Bay wins outright, but I would take San Francisco with the points. And I think it's going to be just Green Bay is just going to beat them, but it's going to be a closer game than most people think.
Right on. We have one game left, and it features the Tennessee Titans at home, coming off of their top-seeded bye. They are taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Titans are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 47. It looks like Derrick Henry is back. We don't know how much he's going to play, but other than Derrick Henry, what are you looking at in terms of what will determine this game, Matt?
It's going to be Tennessee running the ball. I mean, that's Tennessee's bread and butter has been running the ball. If they can get good outside runs, that's going to be what they need. I saw that Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati is possibly going to be back. I think he was listed as a game-time decision.
Yeah, he has practiced this week. He was a full participant yesterday and the day before.
Yeah,
so he is expected to play.
Yeah, that's one key for Cincinnati to stop. I honestly think Tennessee is they're going to keep doing what they're doing. Run on first down, run on second down, and then play actions to Brown and Julio. You're getting both their wide receivers are back and healthy now. Mm-hmm. I see Tennessee. I don't see Cincinnati being able to stay in this game. I think Tennessee's defense is just too strong up front for Cincinnati's front, and I've looked to Tennessee to have a big game on both sides of the ball.
Jimmy, you've been down on Cincinnati most of the year, but you're also down on Ryan Tannehill in the playoffs. Which way are you going with this one?
Well, I don't think it'll matter much because of what Matt said. I don't think Ryan Tannehill will be a factor. When he does throw the ball, it'll be play action, max protect. The Bengals will be so relieved they don't have to tackle Derrick Henry on that play. They'll forget to cover anybody. I don't think the Bengals have a chance in this football game. I completely agree with Matt. It's going to be a long day for Joe Burrow. That defense is going to get at it. Vrabel is going to know what to do. He's going to thoroughly outcoach Zach Taylor in this game. The end of the season is just a couple days away now, a handful of hours away for the Cincinnati Bengals. I love the Titans here. I actually love the under two because I don't think the Bengals are going to get very many possessions in this game.
Yeah, I like Tennessee in this game, and I'm looking at the betting pros data here, and the spread bets are pretty even right now. the over-under bet, 68% of the action's on the over, which seems kind of high. And there is a lot of action on the Cincinnati money line at 69%. Those numbers kind of confuse me because we see it every year in the playoffs. The teams that get the bye, they just come in fresher. They look a step quicker. They might start out a little slow in the first quarter, but as the game wears on, you can really see how much fresher the teams with the bye are. And I think that's going to play a big part in this, especially with how much Tennessee wants to run the ball. They can really wear down that Cincinnati defense. So we all took Tennessee in this game, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Take Tennessee to cover the points, and I'm with you guys. I'm on the under on this game. I don't think this is going to be a high scoring game. Tennessee is going to do their ball control, eat up clock. I honestly, the one bet that I really would like to look at is what is the carry total for King Henry, because I actually think you're going to see a lot of him this game. I think he is kind of bent that his season went down the way that it did, the regular season, with him having fresh legs, practicing full go in pads yesterday. I expect him to be carrying the ball 20, 30 times this game.
Yeah, if he's got the juice for it, they're going to feed him. Although Foreman has been really good filling in for Henry. He doesn't break as many big runs, but he gives them those consistent, 3 to 7 yard carries that keeps that offense moving. So I really agree with that point. Let's wrap real quick, Matt, since you're fresh to the podcast. What were your thoughts on the Cleveland Browns season this year, specifically Baker Mayfield? Jimmy and I, probably about 3 months ago, came to the conclusion that Baker would get surgery in the offseason, which he had on Wednesday, I believe, successfully. He's already beginning his recovery. But we figured they would just bring him back next year, play out the fifth year, and see what happens. And that looks like what they're going to do. Do you think that's the right move for the Browns?
I honestly think it has to be the right move for the Browns, because looking at the free agent crop that's going to be coming out this year, your options are you're replacing him with a gunslinger and Derek Carr. Russell Wilson is not coming to Cleveland.
No.
Aaron Rodgers is not coming to Cleveland.
No.
So your choices are very limited. And I think if the Cleveland Browns decided to say, you know what, we're going to be done with Baker after this coming season, then I think the biggest thing that you're going to see is what happens in the draft. Does Cleveland draft a quarterback this year? If they don't, then I think that the team is still sold. I think with the Browns, personally, to me, the play calling needs to come out of Stefanski's hands.
Yeah, that's something that we've talked about a lot. Just because they don't seem to run the ball enough when Baker's in there. They did it with Keenum, but they didn't run that offense with Baker in there. It was really weird.
Yeah, I think I think Case Keenum has to come back. I think he was on a 1-year deal this year.
Yeah, well, I think he signed a 2-year deal when they signed him as a backup, and that contract is now up.
Yeah, I think you have to bring him back. If you do not bring him back, you have to bring in another experienced quarterback to back up Baker. I think with this offense, you have to have that experience in there. I'm looking coming into next year. They need to really, go after the run. You've got the 3 top interior linemen in the NFL that graded out. Yeah. Why are you not pounding the ball between the tackles?
Yeah, especially when your starting right tackle is out with an injury and his backup ends up getting hurt, and you're playing a third stringer there, and Jedrick Wills is playing on a bum ankle. Jimmy, if they don't bring back Keenum, who do you think they need to bring in as a backup, or who could be in that pool of guys they look at?
I don't even want to pick which one of those guys I want as the backup, man.
They're just all the same.
It's all the same. No, I would hope whoever they would pick, I would hope he just has a stronger arm than Keenum. So Stefanski may be quicker to go to him if Baker gets hurt again. Because I just think that's all it was. I know Stefanski knows how limited Keenum is throwing the ball down the field, which was something Stefanski really wanted to do this year. Now, something Matt said, I really agree with and don't agree with somehow at the same time, which is Stefanski giving up play calling. I just think even if he calls the plays or Van Pelt calls the plays or it's a new offensive coordinator, they just have to get a little bit of disguise going with what they're doing. I mean, Evan, how many times this year could we text each other before a play and say, well, I know where that ball's going. Well, I know where that ball's going. As
Yeah,
opposed
and
to,
if we know
you
where
get
it's
the team.
going, you can guess the defensive players that do this for a living know where it's going.
Yeah, he's just, I hope he's watching some of these teams in the playoffs that have just designed beautiful plays, and I hope he gets back to just being more comfortable. He was clearly not comfortable running the offense this year. I don't know if it was, it all started really when Kareem Hunt got hurt and never got back on track. So I don't know if it was just Kareem Hunt was his safety blanket and he didn't know what to do without him. I don't know, but if he can't figure out how to disguise plays better, then the offensive coordinator needs to call plays so he can hopefully get rid of all the damn pre-snap penalties and stupid mistakes.
Here. I'm just sick of seeing that shit. Like, you saw how it sunk Dallas this season. Jeez, they just kept giving up. They just kept giving up penalties left and right, and it killed drives or extended drives for San Francisco. Just shooting yourself in the foot. That stuff drives me nuts.
Yeah, the one thing when I look at Cleveland, and I've lived in Northeastern Ohio my whole life, I think right now Cleveland needs to find a wide receiver that doesn't want the spotlight, but is a playmaker. I just saw this morning, and I don't know if you guys saw it, there's rumors of Calvin Ridley becoming on the market this year from Atlanta. I personally think that would be a great fit to bring into Cleveland. He's not a guy that wants the limelight, but he's a guy that can stretch the field and can play the game when he's on the field.
Yeah, that's the only problem with him. Jimmy and I are big proponents of them drafting a first-round wide receiver. We really have our eyes on Olave from Ohio State, mainly because we're sick of seeing Ohio State players end up on Pittsburgh and kicking our asses for future years. So we would really, if they could get somebody like that in the first round, or even if you bring in, say, Ridley and you draft Olave, now your passing attack looks considerably more formidable than it did before.
Yeah, if Olave falls that far, I mean, right now I see Olave is, to me, he's almost the speedier Jarvis Landry. I hate to use it like that because I'm a huge Jarvis Landry fan, and I think Cleveland has absolutely screwed him up playing the way that they played him.
Well, he was good for him the last couple of years. This season, he was clearly hurt, and his performance was struggled because of that, especially early in the season. And then as the season went on, and I think he got a little healthier, just the problems with Baker and the passing game in general just hurt him.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I would love to see Jarvis move back into the slot. Catching 100 balls.
He's probably not going to be on the team next year because he has a $16 million cap hit, and they can cut him for a $1 million cap hit. So we're thinking that Landry's going to probably be a cap casualty so that they can. I think, Jimmy, you mentioned last week that if it's a decision between Landry and being able to re-sign Clowney and Tack McKinley, say, you've got to go with Clowney and Tack McKinley. Like, you just have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you also have to look at. I think Clowney, even if he does come back next year, I think with his age, he's probably going to get maybe another 2-year deal max. But I don't think he's going to be getting a max contract that he can get out there.
No, I don't think he's been looking for that contract for like 3 years now, and it's not there.
Yeah, I think the other name that you're going to have to really keep an eye on is going to be the Malik Jackson situation, or McDowell, the one that just got in trouble.
Yeah, I actually saw. I looked up the video that they had, and it looks awful. He said he doesn't remember any of that, so I don't know what's going on with that or what the charges are going to end up being. I have a hard time believing the Browns are gonna hold on to him through this, although they may. And maybe it was just another mistake and he can get his shit together, but I don't know how much leeway the Browns are going to give him after the second chance.
Yeah, that's the whole thing that I'm worried about. This is going to be his second opportunity after screwing up. So
yeah, this is his third chance now, or this will be his third chance. Will be his next.
This will be his third. Yeah. So I honestly expect Cleveland to make some moves. I think they're going to do a lot of their damage through the draft. I don't see them being a hot spot for free agents to come into. It looked like for a while it was. I mean, when they signed Johnson, they signed Clowney, you're like, wow, here's 2 all-pros that are coming to Cleveland. Kareem Hunt resigns, Chubb signs his extension. Now you've got Baker coming back. Now, what is the perception around the league? So I think they're going to do more of their damage in the draft, and you're going to see them bring in pieces that are great complementary pieces to what they want to do.
Yeah, I don't. Jimmy, do you think they'll go after a big name free agent?
No, I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either. I think they'll look more for the maybe mid high tier free agents, but I think this front office has shown they don't want to give out really huge contracts to players unless they're named Austin Hooper, who then promptly takes deuces on the field with his play.
That's the first name that I think is going to be a salary cap casualty.
They can cut him, I think in June they can cut him and only take like a $3 million dead cap hit, which would be great because he's been terrible.
Yeah, I think they want to take that money, and I just saw the report come out like late last week, early this week, that Njoku wants to stay in Cleveland. Well, if he wants to stay in Cleveland, then he's going to need to take a pay cut.
Yeah, because and then maybe they move some of that Hooper money over to Njoku to keep him.
Yep, it's exactly what I'm thinking that they might do. Harrison Bryant, when he's been on the field, has been serviceable. He's been an above average tight end in the NFL. I'm not going to throw him up there with the Kelseys or those guys, but
I think if he got more targets, he could be a more productive player. They seem to be able. Jimmy and I talked about it all year. They seem to be able to run that 3 tight end look where they run the play action and they get Harrison running sort of. He sort of runs that sideline route, and they seem to be able to do that every time they want to run it.
Yeah, I would expect them, if they keep and want him to go out there, and I expect Njoku to be more of the seam, normal tight end kind of guy. I look at Njoku as he's a faster, stronger Gronkowski. And that's high praise. But
wow,
Njoku,
I don't know if he's stronger than Gronkowski because Gronkowski's just so fucking big.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see what you mean.
Strength-wise, yeah.
Yeah.
So I really expect Cleveland to come back next year. I think they're a playoff team.
Nice, yeah, we do too.
And I mean, let's look at the trend. I mean, the NFC or the AFC North is always a toss-up. What comes up with Baltimore? And I think Pittsburgh's in rebuild. Does Cincinnati maintain with these young stars? Do any of them regress? That's going to be the whole thing.
Jimmy, you and I are always just waiting for Joe Burrow's next injury. So,
yeah, and I think Cincinnati will look very different next year when they're out of division games or against the number 1 teams from other conferences.
Yeah,
I think they're going to look much different.
Really good point.
Yeah.
All right, that's probably a good place to wrap up for today. Matt, thank you again for joining us to give us your insight on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's a team, Jimmy and I watch because they're on TV a lot, but we don't have nearly the depth of knowledge you do. So thank you for sharing that with us and our listeners.
Not a problem. I'm more than happy to come back next week after they beat the Rams.
A last jab. I love it. And good luck with the coaching and good luck to all your kids. I hope they learn a lot. And the 4 that you mentioned, I just, from No Broken Legs, from Jimmy and I, we wish them the best and hope their college careers go really well.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And we'll keep you guys updated on how everything's going.
Awesome. Please do. Jimmy, thank you for joining us as well.
No place I'd rather be, brother Matt. Also, I saw congratulations on signing with Bolify again for this coming year.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm a logo infusion guy myself, but I get it.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been approached by them. Bolify gave me the chance, and I have a deep hearted trust in them and what we're trying to do. And they've been very loyal to me, so I am staying with them and being loyal to them.
Oh, yeah, nothing wrong. It's great company.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is.
And I should mention, we have never had so much bowling talent on the podcast before, so this is a new mark that future guests can try to match.
Oh, that's good. That's going to be a tough one, Evan. We're going to have to really go back to our college days to pull some of that talent. And high school days, if you really want to go down that road.
No, I didn't really bowl in high school.
Yeah, but we know the guy from our old high school that is the cream of the crop when it comes to bowling.
Is that
yeah? if the Panthers get good again, I'll have Daryl jump on with us.
There you go. There we go.
That's what I'm talking about, Jimmy. Right there. You know exactly where I was going.
I would like to thank Jimmy and Matt for joining us today, and I would like to thank all of you for listening. If you like what you heard here, please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe to help the channel out. And we will see you next week when we review all these games and get ready for the AFC and NFC championship games. It should be a great weekend of football. And again, thank you for listening. We are No Broken Legs.
Every action has a repercussion. Lyrical bullets don't make me get the bus.